So welcome to Focus Group, everyone. This is our Monday night call. My name is Beck McQuilty, for those of you who I haven't met before, but I think I pretty much have met everybody. We like to do this group on a Monday just for whoever is feeling that they need to keep that consistency within their business, which is really important. And also to have a really open conversation and group chat really about what's working for you, what's not working for you. For those of you who are striving for Punta Cana, this month and next month really is our time to solidly focus on building our business, because we do really at this point only have till the end of June to have our 15 to 20 people, and then we must keep them consistently for those 3 months, as you know. So this group is a really great group with a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge. Sometimes we will speak into, something specific that's going on. Sometimes we will talk around different programs that we might be able to offer, different ideas to talk to people about to have them interested in the technology. And other times it's actually just about really getting into action and having a process to go by. And the way that we started that initially was really setting intention for why we're here and what we're doing, not for any other reason than to remind ourselves. And for a lot of us, there's a huge passion. In fact, it's probably what we all have in common, is this huge passion for helping other people, which I love. We also did a week on appreciation boards. I don't know who's done their appreciation board, but mine keeps growing. So here's my appreciation board. So my appreciation board is not just with things that I have achieved that I'm super grateful for, but it's also a board that I have received cards or letters or whatever it might be that really just light me up and make me feel all warm and fuzzy. There's things on there that I have from a vision perspective, but I don't call it a vision board, because for me it wasn't about creating on one board all of the things that I didn't have in the physicality. I wanted it to be something that I could look at and feel really proud of. I've got US money on there. I don't, I spent it. But I did have USD on there. See, I manifested that, right? I've got my ticket from Disneyland when I've been there. I've got thank you cards. I've got all sorts of things. I've got family photos. It's just a really cool thing to do. So if you haven't got yourself an appreciation board, I really recommend that, because it's a great opportunity for you to be able to look at the things you actually have achieved and are really proud of. We also looked at the core fundamentals of building a business, and that is really following, I guess, the guidelines and structure of what we have within our Frequency Soul Collective. So starting off with the portal is always, I guess, the key place to start, because what you do, you will also duplicate. So it's really important to make sure that you really lean into that structure. And it is about to be updated too. So it's great at the moment, but we're about to take it to a whole new level. But also too, we talked a while ago about the language around the network marketing space versus the language of what we use. You will never, I hope you never, ever hear me use the words downline and all of those words that make us all pretty much twitch. I know it makes me twitch. Debbie Jane's about to go into a fit, I think. But right, that's why we are where we are, because we don't want to, this is different. It's really different. And we know that. But at the same time, there's still a process to what we're doing. So on one of our calls recently, I brought up the dreaded word of the list. And I said, hang on a minute. I ain't asking you to get all Eric Worre on me and go and find and go and start, scanning the butcher and the baker and that chicken grade, 4 that you didn't really like, but you're friends with her on Facebook now. And, what they encourage you to do is to contact everyone, right? And that's not what we're about. And I know that, but we are also about coming from a space of service. And to be able to do that, you need to be able, you can't remember everything. Believe me, I've tried. I can't remember half the time what I did yesterday. So to have a solid book, just one book, one notepad that is Solex specific. Everybody who knows me knows I love notebooks. I have, no word of a lie, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Anyway, I've got a few on my desk at the moment. Debbie Jane understands, she's got the same issue. We need to provide a counselling service for stationery addiction. See, look at it. See, you get it. I love it. I love it. So in one of those books, it can be, and do you know what's funny about that? None of those are actually my Solex books. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But have a Solex specific book. And what I recommend is on the first page of that book, write your intention, write why you feel you're doing this for you. And then we also have, number them, not for any other reason, or you can number them or even just do a little box and write the people that you've been talking to. And the reason that we recommend that is because, over a period of time, the longer you've been doing this and the more you do it, the more contacts you get. And there will be people who, either go by the wayside or that you do actually forget about. And it's not good customer service, really, at any level, to not follow people up. And so whether it be that you scan them, whether they've asked you for information, whatever the case may be, I can promise you right now, if I didn't write a list or many, I would lose track completely of the people that I would have been speaking to. And I don't want to do that, because I want to make sure that when I'm contacting people and offering them a service, which is what we're doing, I want to make sure that I'm really keeping my end of the bargain and following them up and just seeing if there's any questions that they have. So one of the things that we've talked about in the leadership chat is around handling objections for people, because a lot of people sometimes, there are really simple things that we can overcome when people just have questions or just have concerns or don't quite have the answers that they need to yet become a part of what we have. And I think that if we talk around that this evening, I think that that will be really helpful. When Ange and I were on the call earlier, we were talking about my background. For those of you who don't know, I was a corporate sales trainer for a company in Australia, and I traveled the country presenting and creating all my own material, workbooks, workshops, entire training presentation days in the sales field. So I did that for 10 or 15 years. So it wasn't just about training something, it was about actually creating experiences for people. And I think that when we show people what the power of what we have with Solex and how incredible it is, they get it. And it's a different experience to showing people a product. And not that products can't be great, I don't say that, but when people experience this technology, they experience the scan, that just takes people to a whole new level. But sometimes people don't know how to buy. They don't know. I've had one recently who didn't even know that this was a thing that she could buy it off the person who had scanned her. And so she actually purchased it elsewhere. So it's really our responsibility to have those conversations with people and to lead them into that sales process of them actually being able to buy their device or whatever it might be that they're wanting. So let me share with you just a little bit about, and I'm going to try and not make this salesy, because when I go into like full-blown sales mode, like look out, it's so much fun for me. You're all pretty much not going to enjoy it, I promise you. So I'm going to try and tame it down just a little. If DJ starts frowning, I know I've got a little as well. Oh my goodness, you're scared. What are you daylight me? What are you barking at? I've got people in here. Excuse me. Listen, come and say hello. Apologies for the interruptions. Come on. Good. I won't let it happen again. Come on. You're embarrassed now, aren't you? So you should be. See? I've put her at the front of the. Yes, good. Are we finished now? She is seriously the funniest little thing. She's just precious, isn't she? Anyway, so apologies about that. Let's move on. So the first and foremost thing that I look at is from an importance perspective of where I start with people. And really it's around building relationships. And it's about building relationships with like-minded people. And in the work that we do, energy, as we know, is everything. I do absolutely everything energetically. All my decisions are made energetically. The people I connect with are energetically. And I feel like when we set the intention for what we are wanting to bring in for ourselves and the people and their energy is really, really important. Because, and look, don't get me wrong, sometimes we get tripped up and, you know, we'll let a different energy in, but they soon find their way out. We know that, and that's fine too. And that's a learning opportunity for each of us. But I think that setting the intention of the people and the energy of what you want to bring in is really essential, because if you're going into a conversation to sell a product, you know how that feels. And I can't stand anything less than someone messaging me going, hey, great to connect with you. How's your day? Hey, just thought I'd add you to my group. And then all of a sudden off they go and they're trying to sell you like everything. I have some fun with it sometimes, and other times I'm just like, oh, I can't deal. I don't have the time for it. I've had it happen over my birthday so many times that all of these new people have come in and then they've obviously seen that it's my birthday. They're like, so what did you get up to? And I'm like, I'm not even connected with you in any which way, shape or form. I know nothing about these people. And then they're trying to get into these full-blown conversations that, to be completely honest with you, I don't have the time for. And so the reason I share that with you is because you know how it feels. So rather than it being about that, it be about genuine connection and how you can serve and help people. So when I connect with people, I will connect, I'll have a quick chat, I'll ask them what they do, I generally share with them what I do, and then I allow them to watch my journey. You'll see on my Facebook, if you scroll through, it's not all about Solex. And to be honest with you, for a long time, when I first started, it was very little about Solex, but I will throw little like ideas here and there. I'm a little more active on other platforms now, but I will definitely put things in. And when I do, then people show genuine interest because they know it's not my intention, first and foremost, to sell them something. And that's what's important. You chew that cord. That's the most important cord that I have. It's the only one you're not allowed to chew. If you don't know the story, my puppy has chewed almost every cord. My brand new ring light has, that's it. Oh, goodness. So, you know, it's distractions, right? What do you do? And she just had my laptop charging cord and I'm like, nope, that's the only one you can't chew in here. I really need that. So firstly, it's the intention of where we come from and it's the conversations that we're having and it's recording down the information. So for me, I do have my specific Solex book, but when I'm working strongly with people, you'll see my whiteboard here. I'm a very visual person. So as much as it's great to have it in a book, if I'm in here and I'm just ready to do some serious work for however long, call it 20 minutes, an hour, or whatever it is while I've got the time, the first thing I will do is I will look at that board And I can tell you their names are up there, but then the last date that I contacted them as well, so that I know exactly where I'm at with people. And it's great. Like sometimes people shift in and shift off that that board, but it's a very visual for me to be able to keep an eye on. But the first point of contact with people is relationship building. And it's about asking questions and getting to know them. If I was to put my sales hat on, which I won't do for very long, and we were to talk about gaining and gathering information, I used to use the analogy of a backpack. And you've got an empty backpack and you're asking all these questions and you're putting all the information in your little backpack, right? And you're collecting and you're finding out genuinely about people over a period of time. And then when it comes to the point of whenever that might be that you happen to show them the technology of what we have, the software, the device, the scans, the whatever it is, whether it could be the 660 band, it's in that process that you start talking to them about the information that's in your backpack. Because if you've asked enough questions to people, you will know why they need it. Right? And so then it's the point of actually pulling things out of the backpack and saying, hey, I remember you telling me about, your son, da, 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 da. I really feel this could help him because, does that make sense? Yeah. And so then it's not about you just presenting a product or trying to sell them something. You're actually building value in that conversation. And that is one of the biggest things. I can tell you right now, very, very rarely would I ever get an objection of that subscription's too expensive or it's a subscription at all. And it's because the value that I build in what we have, because I truly, truly believe it. And I know it. I don't even have to believe it. I know it. I know it in all of my knowing that what we have in our hands is actually priceless. So the fact that we get to pay $149 US a month for it is, to me, brilliant. And they've assured us for the longest of time that they will not change that price. And I love that as well. And so I guess that comes to the point of overcoming objections, in inverted commas, in a conversation, because if one of the objections that you would traditionally get is about about the subscription price or whatever the case may be, then talk about that and speak into that. For me, I explain to people, you do pay a monthly fee. And for that monthly fee, you get unlimited scanning capability. You get unlimited profiles and you get access to all updates for $149 a month. To me, that's really good value. That's not expensive. And then at the end, I'm not waiting for them to turn around and say, oh, how much is that? Like, oh, what are we paying that for? Because then it changes the whole energy of the conversation, right? So if you've built enough value in your conversations with people, very, very rarely will you ever get those objections. So are there any objections that you have or things that people have said to you that is a common thread? Pop it in the chat if you do. I'm happy to, to speak into that as well. And look, sometimes it's timing. For some people, they love it, they get it. I've got plenty of people like that. I don't worry about any of that. For me, it's not about following up to get people over the line. My idea of following up is to follow up at the right time that aligns with them. Because if there's a right time for them, it will align. And it's honestly as simple as that. Because following people up and having those conversations, it might be, for example, we just got new in a voice. What a great opportunity to be able to go back to people and say, hey, we actually have just had an update on the inner voice scan. I really wanted to share it with you. Can you send me a new voice memo? That's not me selling anything. That's just me sharing with them something new. And what if the timing for them is now? And what if they were sitting there praying to God that God would send them something to make them feel better, to take away their misery, to take away their depression or anxiety or whatever it was that they were experiencing in that moment. And I send them a voice memo saying, hey, I want to do this for you. Can you send it through to me? So I think the gift of giving in this business is probably why it aligns with me so much, is because I have that ability to be able to gift this as a service to people sometimes without necessarily the intention of selling them something in inverted commas. So I think once we get out of that mindset and that we're there to present to them, to sell them, then it actually then takes away the expectation of the end result. Because when you're expecting a particular result, which is generally for a person to say yes, that one is huge pressure on yourself, but two, it also changes the energy dramatically. So really start to notice that when you're talking to people, where your energy is sitting. I hold no attachment ever to whether people say yes, no, or maybe to me. If they say yes, wonderful. Come on in. We will love on you. Enjoy the process. You know, be with us. We would love that. If they say no, is that no forever? Most likely not. And if it is, that's okay too. But for a lot of people, it could be a lack of understanding. It could be a lack of funds. It could be anything. And that's where timing really is important, and that's where follow-up is important. Can you see how I'm connecting the dots through? Does that make sense? Right. And so then if someone says just a hard no to me, I will ask the question why, because it's a great learning experience, but it could also be a very, very easy, simple thing that I can overcome for them to give them a solution. So in the sales process, we would call that overcoming an objection. But the reality of it is we're just helping people to come to a decision. That's it. Whether that be now or whether that be later. But if I'm not expecting and I'm not hung up on the fact of me selling this person a device because I need this, in inverted commas, then it doesn't matter energetically for me whether they say yes or no. I'm not going to take that as an offense because it's not about me. If you've explained it, you've done your job. And your only job is to show people this. Because the reality of it is we're getting to a point where if you don't, somebody else is going to. I'm going to throw Debbie Jane right in the deep end. She spoke to a girlfriend the other day who was like, what is this? I don't know what this is. Why haven't you shown it to me yet? And it was just, it hadn't come up in conversation, right? But, you know, had you have gone out and gone, hey, it might have been a bit much for her. But I always believe in perfect timing. It will always happen in perfect timing. There have been people who will send me their information to scan them, and I don't do it, and I don't do it, and I don't do it. And I message them and I apologize and I say, hey, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but this just isn't the right time yet. It's coming, but I literally can't bring myself to go and scan people sometimes. Not for any other reason that they're not ready to receive it. And I guess for me, that is a gift that I'm in tune with that. But also too, I always believe all in perfect timing. And when you think of someone, reach out to them. I reached out to a girlfriend this morning. Actually, no, I revert. I didn't reach out to a girlfriend this morning. I was driving home and I was thinking about her and I thought I really need to reach out to her. I pulled into my driveway and you know the little 3 dots that come up on your phone? Messenger. I'm sorry. My house is like an absolute zoo. If you want to talk energy, these are the things that happen. Now my robot vacuum has taken off on its own. Nobody has touched it. It's just going to go into a bit of a Can you hear it? You can, yeah. It's literally opening the door. Look. Welcome to the circus, people. Enjoy. Goodness me. No, that completely threw me. I will say that completely threw me. But anyway, I digress. The moral of the story is you can never say the wrong thing to the right person And you can never say the right thing to the wrong person. And Ange and I were having that conversation today too. Ange is like, this person really needs this though. And I said, Ange, this person really isn't open. This person really doesn't want it yet. Leave it a while. People come to their own conclusions when they need, but feel into who is needing it and just offer it as a conversation. It's like when people say to you, what do you do? What do you say to them? Because I always put bioresonance in there. I also am a bioresonance practitioner. Have you experienced bioresonance before? They've very quickly forgotten all of the other things that I've told them because I'm now focused on bioresonance, and I want to know if they know what I'm talking about. Some people have experienced it, but there is a lot of people even in the healing space and the natural health and wellness space who have never experienced this before. And to be able to give people a tool in their hands, like, isn't that the best gift we could ever give them? I'll give you a quick example. And I've kind of half told this story, but I haven't told the whole story until today because I only got the actual results. I hurt my hip a while ago training at the gym. I don't know what I did to it at the time, but it was one of those things. It didn't really hurt. It was just niggly. And then you kind of go to bed and then you couldn't lay on that side. You have to roll over to the other side. So I kind of got a little bit worse. Anyway, I thought I should probably do something about that at some point. As healers, we kind of tend to not do that. And then I did my shoulder, and the shoulder was an absolute cracker. The pain went all the way down to my little pinky finger, and it was painful. And so I went, right, what is the first thing that I should do? Obviously, I need to scan myself. So I go, and my own little conclusion, I was about to say something else that's not compliant. My own conclusion was that there was a tendon that was a 9 and a 9, so I knew it was inflamed, and I assumed it being a tendon might be like a tear or something. And then my shoulder, it showed the bursa was a 9 and a 9, and I'm like, okay, well, the chances are my bursa is inflamed. So then I think I better actually get an ultrasound and actually just get a confirmation of that. The doctor calls me today. He says, so your shoulder, the report says you have an inflamed bursa. I'm like, yeah, I know that. He said, it's very minimal though. He said, honestly, that it's almost nothing, but there is just slight inflammation. Now I know that because it's been going on now for over a week and a bit, that I've been doing AO on it. I've been putting Cephi dots on it, and I've been healing it. So I knew that the inflammation would have gone down. So that's why it's showing minimally. And sure enough, there's a tear in the tendon in my hip. So isn't it incredible to be able to look at these things and get confirmation every single time? And so I will share that as a testimonial in our group and on our page. But it's that sharing publicly and letting people know what you do that's really important, because they might not be interested in buying a scanning device ever, but geez, they could be going through something right now that you could help them with. They really could. So please just keep that in mind when you're putting your posts out. Be really mindful about people really needing solutions at the moment. So know that it doesn't come from that space of I'm advertising to sell something. And look, if that's the way of how you do things, that's okay too, 100%. But I think when you come from that space of attracting the people that need this, because that is how we attracted this to Australia. That's how all of this started. We desperately needed this in our country. And I just prayed one day, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's got to be a solution. There just has to be. There has to be a solution or a distraction. And then when AO was gifted to me in my hands and I saw it, I was like, no way, that is insane. And, you have this experience and this journey over time with it where it becomes, for the first week, I'm pretty sure I pretty much didn't leave the house, which was kind of good because I think it was back in COVID times and I don't think I was allowed to. But I would scan people, and I would see things come up and I would just play with it. I'd be like, oh, this is showing for you. That does that resonate? And they go, oh my gosh, yes, that totally resonates. I didn't even know that was what was wrong with me. And so that will build your confidence over time. And Ange and I were talking today that sometimes talking to practitioners that, or it could be anybody that you feel, it could be someone that really knows a lot about bioresonance. The reality of it is, the people that you are showing this to, the chances are that you will always know more about the AO scanner than they do. And that's all that matters. So they could be a doctor, whatever. And they could have lots more degrees in something or other than you do. But you know more about this than they do. And even if you don't, there's a lot of people here to support you whilst you're learning too, which is awesome. I'm just going to jump on the chat real quick and just read. Okay, so this is a really good question from Kerry. So if it's a no, what would be the time frame between the follow-up, and what would you say to the person in that second call? First and foremost, if anyone was to say no, I would definitely be asking the question why. I think a lot of the times people will kind of make it more about a not the right time, and that's okay. So I will just, I honestly, I don't know that I have a time frame. I think it depends on how busy you are and how much action you're really taking in your business. And I think the more action you're taking, the longer it is and the less it matters. Does that make sense? Because if you are truly working your business, I can tell you, okay, I'm going to be real honest. Hang on a sec. I'm going to count because I haven't worked off my board for a while because I've been so busy with working with people directly on the internet, on the phone, whatever, Facebook, that I actually haven't really had the time to go to my list. So if I was to say how many of these, I'll say out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 22, 23, 24. I'm going to say 24 people, and I'll tell you how many I've contacted in the last 2 weeks just on that list. One, that was only because she messaged me today. That doesn't count, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 in the last 2 weeks. So that's not probably great, right? But the reality of it is, the longer I leave it, the less I'm hassling people for a start. But I figure that if I was meant to message the others, that would have happened by now. I would, if you're busy in your business, I would diarize it for every sort of 2 to 3 months maybe, and just share something new with them, or offer them a different aspect of it. It could be that you've created a new program and say, hey, I really wanted to share this with you. If I run it for a couple of days for you, or whatever the case may be, would you mind giving me a testimonial? So you can always do that as well. So really build your testimonials around it. I think that is a great idea. So I would say 2 to 3 months if it's someone who said no, but it would also depend on why they said no. That's really important. If it was a monetary thing, I would just check in on them every kind of month or so. If it was more of a no, I'm not interested at all, I wouldn't necessarily take them off my list, but I would leave it. And I think you would know when the right time is to follow them up. But if it's just a affordability, or I'm moving and, then I've got to settle into my new house and get a new job and then I'll do it, then diarize when roughly that would be. And I tend to put reminders in my phone. You can just go to I voice memo straight to Siri and say, remind me on the, 15th of July to send a message to, Sally, who was looking at a device. But the other thing that I make a note of is where I'm speaking to these people. So whether I've spoken to them at the Mind Body Spirit Expo, whether I've spoken to them on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, wherever. So I write the last date that I contacted them and where I know them from, because if I look at my board and go, Sally Smith, oh my gosh, I can't quite remember, that was quite a while ago, but it says FB for Facebook, then I can look Facebook straight up, straight away, go to our message, refresh my memory, and then follow up from there. So that's always good as well. For those of you who know anybody in Sydney, just while I'm thinking of it, we have the Mind, Body, Spirit Expo next week. It starts on Thursday, the 18th, all the way through to Sunday, the 21st. If you have anybody in Sydney, please send them our way to the Frequency Soul Collective stand at Mind, Body, Spirit Expo at the Convention Centre, and we will always look after them for you. I think one of the nicest things about our collective is that you can feel safe about sending your people our way and know that they will be nurtured and loved. We had quite a lot of that in Sydney last year, and it was so wonderful just to meet new people, have them experience the device in person, answer any questions. We're always there for that. So that's really cool. I'm just going to see the next question. Amanda, I just had a lady speak to me again about the AO after 8 months, wants to take it to her healer to see if it resonates. She's a healer user and I know she wants in, but not quite sure, not quite there yet, maybe in a few months away. Yeah. Yeah. So there you go though. Like, isn't it funny how, you know, for some of us, you know, I've been doing this for what, maybe 18 months now. People will come back, you know, a long way down the track. Like even a friend of mine who was really kind of keen at the beginning, but is still heavily involved in another company and is a bit entrenched there. So they feel like even if they use the scanner, they'd be like cheating on their other company, which is crazy, but that's the thought process. They have an NDIS scheme. So I messaged them the other day. I'm like, hey, you have NDIS, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, you know, you can get this device on NDIS. This is an option for you. So it's just sometimes thinking outside the square and offering it in a different way as well. So that's a really important thing to know. But see, that's really interesting, Amanda, that after 8 months, right? So you just don't know. And keep in mind, most people will watch you and not say anything. Have you experienced that so many times? And that's why being active on your social media is really important. So important. And as Ange says, most people pay memberships for the gym. They don't question that, right? Because they know they need it. They're getting the value for it. So that's all we need to do is create that value. And yeah, people are always watching, 100%. How many times I have conversations with people, honestly, and it's like, oh, I saw that you went blah, blah, blah. And it literally like my mind goes, huh? And I think I haven't spoken to that person for so long that I comment on any of my stuff, but then they see this. Like I've got a girl who I went to school with such a long time ago, never in a million years has commented on my posts or anything like that, inboxes me one night saying, hey, I have a situation with a family member, blah, blah, blah. Do you think you'd be able to help us? So people are watching. So always be mindful of that. Doesn't have to be salesy. People just need to know what you do. So I think that that's a really valuable lesson. Any questions? Does anyone have any questions? I hope that that helps, by the way. I hope that I didn't like make anyone cringe about my little salesiness, but I don't think it's too bad, right?
Sounded pretty good to me, Bex.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I love to hear that. Thank you. So I think we will leave it there for this evening, but you know, we can't go anywhere without homework, right? So I think tonight it's really important to go, for those of you who have been here for a while, go right back to the beginning and just look at your list again, or look back on Messenger as to when you started and who you started talking to, and just reconnect, because you just don't know timing wise when it is right for people. And I know like Janice and Sue, you're quite new here as well. So for anyone new watching the recording, honestly, my recommendation would be, and I'm just using this as an example because it's not my Solex book, but it's really pretty. Grab a notebook, whatever that looks like, or whether that be big, small, whatever is your jam, and start a Solex only book. I always say at the front of it, yeah, awesome. Angela's got hers with her beautiful Solex logo on there. So I always put my list and everything on this side, and then I flip it upside down and I start from the back that way with all of my training notes, and then everything is in the one spot. So that's always really handy too. So I'm very plain, aren't I? There's nothing blingy about. Look at that notebook, will you? How blingy is that? That's so cool. Isn't that gorgeous? I love it. It's so cool. So I hope that helps this evening. I look forward to seeing everyone next Monday night. And every week we will always create an action for the following week. And then sometimes we will just sit and brainstorm and feel into that. Other times we are going to be creating like a group for the next month where we're actually going to be running playlists and things like that as well. They've been really successful. And it's funny because I've gone to do that twice now, and both times energetically I've been pulled away from it. So it's coming, but there's reasons that it hasn't happened yet. I don't even question it anymore. I'm like, fine, I'll go do something else in the meantime. So I'll know when that time is right. I feel like it's probably going to be July, in all honesty, but it gives us that time now to build our platforms, to build our interest, to build our audience, to then bring people into a program in July, whether that be around self-love, money manifestation. I'm also about to start writing a book, apparently. Guidance tells me on how to manage stress. So how incredible for us to have a stress-free July. That would be really cool. How many people would want to do that? There are so many stressed people out there at the moment, right? So even to be able to, have so much knowledge and so many amazing people to be able to speak into different aspects of stress. So that's probably what it'll end up being, but it's coming. So we'll prepare for that. But in the meantime, create your audience and your people to be able to share that with. And for those of you who are new, just go and talk to your people and write them down as you go. That's as simple as it can be, honestly. So Ange, I was going to say, Ange, you'll be a really good one for this too. She does presentations on stress specifically for the fly in, fly out guys. So she's got really good slides that go with that. So yeah, I think that would be a really good one. So thank you everyone for joining us. I really appreciate you being here. Thursday night, we have training 5 p.m. WA time, 7 p.m. Queensland time with the beautiful Paige Haynes. She was on here before, but she bumped out. She is going to be training all of our beautiful brand new quantum living advocates and preferred customers. So I will pop that flyer up in our groups now. I was going to do it Thursday. Yeah. I was going to do it before, but I didn't want to confuse everyone with focus group and then new distributor training. But I'll go and pop that flyer up straight away for you all so that you have that for Thursday. So have a beautiful evening, everybody, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Good night.